After 40, makeup is less about piling it on and more about strategy. The right routine can make your skin look smooth, radiant, and flawless, and definitely not heavy. Oh, and did I miss out? It can make you look youthful, which is exactly what we're looking for at this age. If you do the wrong routine, it can end up enhancing texture, making you look older, and making lines and wrinkles a lot more obvious than they actually need to be. Today, I'm going to be showing you the routine that gives you flawless skin at 40. No messing around, no fluff, we're gonna get straight to it. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Nina, I'm a celebrity and professional makeup artist. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've worked on so many different faces. Honestly, I've lost count, but what that's done is given me a ton of experience on different skin types, tones, age groups, everything you can imagine. And by the way, I'm actually 45 years old, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to skin in 40s. Right, let's get into it. Skin prep. This is a non-negotiable. So I actually already applied my SPF this morning because I had to take my little Nico out for a walk. So I slapped some SPF on this morning, but that was a good few hours ago. So I'm actually not going to apply my SPF, but I'm going to apply a different SPF later. I'll show you. So I'm going to use my moisturizer. This is my Calm Keto cream. It's a Korean brand and it's clean. So this is another thing that I make sure that the skincare that I am using is clean. Like it's got no kind of unnecessary ingredients. And I feel like, I don't know if you've been through this, but you go through this stage of kind of trying everything and you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm actually trying far too many acids or just, like far too many ingredients that are a little bit too harsh for my skin. And I went through that. And then all of a sudden I just cut everything back. I just stripped my whole routine back. And that's been the best thing for me. The only thing that I do use, which would be, I would say, considered harsh, is tretinoin. And that has been a game changer for my skin. I use that every other day at night, but everything around it, all of my other skincare around it is all clean, very uncomplicated skincare. So it's not full of a whole load of ingredients. It's just, I'm really making sure that I use products which are very good for my skin and just not fussy, So I'm going to use my eye cream here, which currently is my MAC Hyper Real Serumizer eye treatment, and I use this during the day and I just make sure that I really kind of smooth that over. Now, one thing I want to explain is with moisturizer, like you saw me apply, I applied a pea-sized amount. It is crucial to apply it, but you also don't want to overload it because it can really change the way that your makeup sits on your skin. It can end up kind of almost making your makeup slip, which we don't want. We want it to stay in place. We want it to last all day. We want it to make sure it doesn't enhance any flaws that we already have. We want it to kind of like blur, just lightly blur the skin. Now, SPF, like I mentioned, I already applied some this morning. I know a lot of you have noticed that I apply my SPF before my moisturizer, and I get a ton of comments on this. So I just want to clear this up because there seems to be a lot of blanket advice out there, which is just floating around the YouTube world through comments about what should be done and what is the right way to do it. Here's the truth. There is no one size fits all when it comes to the order of your skincare. Normally, you would apply your SPF as the last layer of your skincare because you want it to be the last protective layer. That is the standard advice you will hear from most dermatologists. If you are using a treatment such as tretinoin, as I am, then your skin can be a lot more sensitive. My own dermatologist, who by the way, is also on UK TV, so she's on the TV. She's like hired by these morning breakfast shows and everything, and she's very well known. She has advised me to put my SPF on before my moisturizer because of the fact that my skin will be more sensitive. The reason for that is because by applying the SPF before my moisturizer directly onto my skin, it's going to reduce the irritation, and the moisturizer on top kind of acts like a buffer. So realistically, it really depends on your skin type, what treatments you're using, and how reactive your skin is. If you're someone with very resilient skin, quite tough, you'll probably be fine with applying your SPF after your moisturizer. If you're on tretinoin, like me, then you might need to switch it up and apply your SPF before your moisturizer. It's all well and good, dermatologists out there saying that this is the way to apply it, but there are so many hidden factors. So the general rule of thumb is, yes, to apply your SPF after moisturizer, which is something I used to do before I started tretinoin. But since starting tretinoin, I have listened to my dermatologist and realized that, okay, this is the right way to do it. And she's right, because my skin has become a little bit more sensitive whilst I'm on this journey of tretinoin, trying to clear up texture and acne scarring and everything. So once I'm off it and my skin is a bit more balanced, I will probably apply my SPF after my moisturizer. The key thing that I'm trying to make clear here is listen to your dermatologist, not what someone else's skin needs. So what I'm trying to say is, whenever I talk about, right, I'm applying my SPF now, I'm applying my moisturizer now, I'm applying this now, I have said in several other videos of mine, like just randomly, not in every single one, but I have also always said that, you know, listen to what your dermatologist says. Whenever I'm applying my skincare, I never say this is the right way. So I don't say that. If it was a case that I say that, I would fully understand anyone feeling like they have to leave a comment about the fact that I've applied SPF first, but I never do that. I never push what I'm doing. I never push my routine. If it comes to the actual makeup and I'm trying to achieve a specific result, yes, I'll push, because that's the way you're only going to get that result. But I'll never push things like skincare. In fact, I always make sure I mention your skincare is going to be different to mine. Honestly, you're not going to get a prize for applying it in the right way, because it's very different for each person. As long as you're wearing SPF consistently, that is the one thing that we all need to do, which is the same. Now, it could be that you're on strong actives, like something other than tretinoin. By the way, I'm just going to apply my primer, which has SPF in it. It has SPF 50. This is the Anastasia Primer Hydra Prime. And I'm really loving this. It's hydrating and everything, and I love it. But yeah, if you're using any kind of like strong acids or anything, then I would suggest, but again, speak to your dermatologist, applying your SPF before your moisturizer. But if you've got normal skin, resilient skin, and you don't get irritation in general, then I would suggest applying it after your moisturizer. That's the standard way. So let's get back to it. So obviously we've let the primer kind of settle down a little bit. Now, when you want really smooth, good looking skin when you're in your 40s, you really do want to make sure that you hydrate properly. But I feel like this sometimes can get a little bit confusing, because some people will really hold on to that and go a little bit too far with the hydration. And then what happens is everything starts to slip. So you want to make sure it is specific to your skin type, because what I'm applying doesn't mean that it will actually work for you. In terms of skincare, when it comes to my skincare, I go for something which is very kind of clean, not a lot of fuss in there, not a lot of ingredients. Make sure that you use products which are tailored to your skin concerns. If you have slightly more dehydrated skin, then obviously you want to use a hydrating moisturizer, like something with a bit of extra hydration, a hydrating primer. So that Anastasia Beverly Hills Hydra Prime might be really good for you. I think it is a very good primer, by the way, for mature skin. So if you deal with a bit more drier skin, it's great for you. But you want to make sure that it's tailored to you. The more tailored you can get it to your skin type and your skin concern, the less you have to worry about that affecting the way that your makeup looks for the rest of the day. Now, after 40, your foundation should enhance, not mask, your face. You want to choose the formula wisely, so you want to make sure you pick something, again, tailored to your skin concern. If you have very dry skin, a lot of texture that shows through, lines seem to be very obvious, your skin feels a little tight, then you want to go for something which is quite hydrating. So I'd recommend something like the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer. I feel like I always need to say this, and honestly, it's not because I think that anyone is likely to do it, but I just want to just be safe. Don't replace your normal moisturizer with a tinted moisturizer. It's not, I would never recommend that. It's still makeup at the end of the day. It's going to give you great added moisture. So perfect if you have quite dry skin or mature skin. You want to replace your foundation with your tinted moisturizer. Look at it like that. You're not replacing your moisturizer with a tinted moisturizer. You're replacing your foundation with a tinted moisturizer. You can go for a foundation if you don't want to use a tinted moisturizer. Go for something which is still going to be a little bit hydrating, not going to look too dry on the skin. Something that is going to kind of like deal with the issues you have, but give you a flawless finish. So the foundation I'm going to use is the MAC Studio Radiance, and I'm using my shade NC38. Now this, I think for me, is a great foundation because I want that added hydration, because like I said, I am using tretinoin at the moment. My skin is a little bit more kind of sensitive and also, you know, is prone to a little redness at the moment due to the tretinoin. oil. And I want a foundation which is not going to be overly drying, but also have some really good ingredients in there that is going to actually help my skin. And the MAC Studio Radiance is a very, very good foundation for that. So we're going to get this onto the back of the hand like that. And it's not overly runny either, which I love. We're going to use the BK Beauty 106 brush. Don't forget, you get a discount code. Use the code NINA10. It's going to get you discount off of anything from BK Beauty. Best brushes, by the way. So let's really get this in there. And we're then going to buff onto the skin. So I've really made sure I've got it onto the brush first. I just want to make something clear while I'm doing this. I don't know if you noticed, but I don't go too far into the hairline because it's a really horrible mask-like look that you get. Now, if you have buffed the foundation in very well into the brush, you shouldn't actually be transferring a lot of foundation onto the skin. It should be so kind of like thin that you don't you could go like that and it's not going to leave like a brush stroke, right? By the time I get to the outside, it's kind of the leftover bits of foundation. So I don't feel the need to go so far into the hairline. So I really focus on getting it from the center and then working my way out. And you can see we're getting that really nice finish to the skin where it's just kind of like healthy looking. Focusing on the center and then working our way out. And by the time we get out, we don't need a lot more. So it was only one pump that I used. And it's not even a full pump, by the way. It's like, I'd say 3/4 of a pump. Okay, so this is where things can go wrong for a lot of people when it comes to concealer. Too much concealer around the eyes can end up actually making you look 10 years older. It is such an important part of the whole routine, you know, that you get that right and you're not overloading the product on, especially around the eyes. It's the one area that the skin is the thinnest than anywhere else. So it's actually the last place that you want too much product. You want to use a nice creamy flexible formula. So I'm actually going to use the MAC concealer, the Studio Radiance 24-Hour Luminous Lift Concealer. I really do love this. And I'm actually mixing two shades together, NC20 and NW35. And you don't have to mix them together. Get the right shade for you. But for me, I don't have the right shade, so I want to mix these together. Let me just mix these two. Let me make sure I've got the right shade. This is not something you need to do, guys. Like, go out and get your right shade. This is just because I'm used to it as a makeup artist. I can very easily mix my own shade together. And I kind of know what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got it on the back of my hand there. That's more than enough. It's a thin layer of concealer. So now I've got my sponge. I'm going to just spray that with my Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. Just a little bit, not a lot. Now we're going to go into this. Just buff it. Same way we buffed the foundation into the brush. We're really bouncing this into the sponge. And now I'm going to press onto the lids. I just want to get these lids done. Really thin amount. We've not applied a lot. Okay, let's get our powder, which is my Huda Easy Bake. Okay, so I've got my Real Techniques brush. And let's just buff the powder off. Okay, so we've got leftover concealer on the back of the hand. Now I'm going to do the same thing, buff it into the sponge and then start buffing it onto the under eye area. And we're really making sure we're kind of like not going too close to the under eye, as in the lower lash line, but we're taking it up here and more close to the side of the nose. Your main aim here is to make sure that you don't have a lot on the sponge, because you can always build it up if you need to. But honestly, I don't think you're going to need to. I think you'll just need the smallest amount. Like that thin layer is all I really needed for both sides. Okay, so there you go. I'm happy with that. That's my concealer done. Very, very thin layers here. If you feel that you need to apply another layer on top, I would recommend letting it dry down a little bit and then going in. Don't go straight in with another layer because it's all just going to move around. Okay, so I am going to use a brow wax right now. This is actually a drugstore brand that got sent over to me and I actually really loved it. I'm quite surprised at it. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would say this doesn't necessarily last in the same way all day. Like my ultimate favorite is still the Urban Decay Slick Day Brow Wax, but this is a firm like runner-up because it's very good, but it doesn't last as long. Like it won't stay like this all day. So I just want to kind of like wax up my brows quickly, and let me just remove any makeup. This is a real important part, by the way, guys. I just feel like these are little things that maybe you don't see a lot of people kind of show on YouTube videos, but it's, you know, sometimes when you watch a YouTube video and it's been edited, like I edit mine to make sure that you're not watching me sip my coffee and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? You do watch some YouTube videos, I've seen them, where it's so edited that you actually, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, you've missed out a skip quite. You've missed out a skip? You've missed out a step. Why does it always happen to me? I'm 45, that's all I can say. That's my excuse. I see videos sometimes and it's very clear that a step has been missed out. It's very clear that you had to prep your brush before that. You had to do this before that. So sometimes I feel like it's unfortunate, and I feel really bad that a lot of you guys, especially the like ones of you who don't necessarily have as much kind of, you know, insight into this makeup world and being a professional makeup artist, it's only obvious to me because I've been doing it for over 20 years. So when I see these things, I'm like, but you haven't shown them everything. So I want to show you everything. So I took the product off of my brows. I'm getting a tissue to make sure there's no kind of, you know, it's not too wet. Now I've got this. This is my Bourjois Brow Reveal Push Up Brow Wax. And I just literally get it right in. So I use this if I know I'm not going to have my makeup on all day. It's definitely not one that will last you all day, I'm going to be honest with you. But if you just want it for a quick kind of outing that you've got, you know, it's a good one. So I'm just going to push these up. Oh, I think they're a little bit too pushed up. Okay, so yeah, it's a decent brow wax. Just wanted to share that with you. So we're gonna let that dry now. So because we're still applying blush and stuff, it's gonna have more than enough time to dry. I've got like super static hair. I don't know what is going on with me. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, okay, now I would always recommend when it comes to blush, a cream blush if you're in your 40s. But the thing is, there are powder blushes that do work. Only one, in my opinion, that is perfect for if you're in your 40s. That's just because that's the only one that I've tried that actually fits the bill, but I just want to keep it real with you. So in terms of like cream blushes, there are many that I absolutely love. One of my favorites currently is the Makeup by Mario Soft Pop blush stick in Dusty Rose. Absolutely love this. Such a beautiful color for my skin tone. So if you're anywhere close to my skin tone, I think you're gonna really love this. And I use my Hourglass 15 brush for this, and I just basically lightly pat on top, and then I apply this on the top part of my cheekbone. Now it really depends on the look you're going for, but I wouldn't pile on too much because I just feel like you actually only need a small amount. And if you see, when I'm actually applying it to the brush, it's actually such a small amount. It's literally dab on, dab off. Like, it's not a crazy amount of product. And I keep it at the top part of my cheekbone, not the temples. Really important you understand that you don't want it to go into the temples. That's going to give you a very different type of look. There you go. So I like this because I feel like this actually gives me that really nice kind of like flushed look, which isn't overly bright, you know. And I will actually layer up a little bit with a powder just to show you that you can use a powder as well. If you prefer a powder, I would always recommend the Dior Backstage Rosy Glow Powder. Now they've been reformulated, so if you remember, they used to be rectangle shape, now they're square. It's absolutely stunning, even on mature skin. Like when you have crepey skin, if you have kind of like fine lines and wrinkles that are really obvious, you're gonna love this blush. Now, when it comes to sculpting, you can use a cream product if you want. A really good one, I'm just sticking to products that I know work really well when you're in your 40s, by the way. A really good one is the Dior Skin Contour. I use the shade Tan, but it's a very creamy formula that blends into the skin really well. It's easy to use, isn't kind of like chalky. So I just get a little bit there, a little dash at the top of the ear. One there too. And I stick to kind of keeping it in the outside part of the face, the perimeter part of the face. And I do a little dash there, a little dash there. And then just beneath the jawline. It's a very light amount. It's not like super heavy. I don't put a lot of it there. Like, I've kind of gone past the point of that whole lines everywhere. If I'm looking for something which is very, I don't know, like for a photo shoot, maybe I'll do that. But generally I don't go crazy with the contour as much as I used to. So now I've got my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood complexion brush, and I'm just continuously pressing. I'm never dragging. See that? It will eventually blend. Just be patient. And then get to this bit here. Now, I'm going to be honest. If you were to just leave it, I feel like it can end up looking a bit disconnected in certain light. So I'm in front of a studio light at the moment. If I go in the daylight, I might actually be able to tell, oh, she's got a contour line there, contour line there, contour line there. This is what I mean by keeping it very transparent with you guys. Like, I don't want you to think that, you know, when I'm showing you how to do makeup on this channel, that it's purely based on, oh, well, she's got a studio light there, you know? I've got a really bad habit of getting makeup on my earrings, by the way. I want to keep it real with you, so I'm going to show you like what you do to make sure that doesn't happen. Because it is also, I think, about being preventative. Like, you really want to make sure that you kind of, you think about what could happen. So it isn't just about, oh, it looks good in this light, that's it. And then you go out and you look in the mirror and you're like, what is going on? Whatever's left on our brush here, we're not applying more. We're just going to go over. Just over the areas that we applied the contour, very lightly, nothing crazy. And all that's doing is making sure that nothing's going to look disconnected when we get outside. Because whatever thin, very, very little amount of foundation that's left on that brush is going to just make sure it buffs everything in nicely. Now, after 40, we do strategic powdering. We're not going to be pressing it on like we're baking a cake. We are honestly just going to be dusting it on very lightly, but pressing it into the areas that you know you struggle with the fine lines and the wrinkles. But there are two different ways of doing this, so let me explain as I go along. Now, for me, for my skin, pressing it on with a powder puff on my under eyes works. It stays put, and my skin type allows it to be able to still look good later on in the day. With some skin types in your 40s, especially if you are more crepey and more fine lines there and more dry around that area, it can work against you. So this doesn't mean that this is the way to apply it for everyone. If you feel like you fall into that category where you've got a bit more crepey skin, you've got a little bit more drier skin, it ends up looking very dry and cakey later in the day, or immediately, or too dry in general, then you don't want to use the pressing technique. What you want to use is a brush to press it in, not the puff technique. Hopefully that all made sense. So basically you've got two options. You use a powder puff or you use a brush. I like to combine the two, which I'll show you. For the under eyes, you're either going to use a powder puff or you're going to use a brush to press the powder in. If you feel like it works pretty well on you, like it does on me with a powder puff, stays put all day, you're not going to know until you try it, to be fair, so try it at least once and just understand that that's your test day. Press it on with the powder puff, you're fine with it, good to go. The rest of the face you can dust it on with a brush. But then the other technique for the under eyes is the brush, and that's where you press the powder in with a brush and you don't use a puff, and that is going to be really good if you do struggle with it looking cakey generally. So first thing we are going to do is we've got the powder puff. This is how I'm applying it. I'm going to make sure I get my sponge here. Now, a couple of things I want to do. I want to make sure that I get rid of any excess product. So you've got two options here. You can either get a tissue and you can blot your face and it's going to pick up all of the excess product, or you can get a sponge, and if you don't have much on the back of it, you can use that to soak it all up. Completely up to you. Now I'm going to use the back of the sponge, and again, like I said, you can use a tissue. I would actually recommend using a tissue first because it's actually going to give you a really good idea of how much extra you end up having that you don't need. And I'm going to use the point of the sponge to pick up any product beneath the lash line. Okay, now we've got the powder puff. We're going to dip into the powder, and I'm going to get my under eyes done how I usually do. And the only other place I use the powder puff is my smile lines. And then everywhere else I use a brush. Now, the first thing I do is actually get rid of the powder on my under eyes. See, this is the thing, I don't bake, I just dust it off immediately. Then you can get a bigger brush, you dip into the powder, and you're going to basically press this on everywhere else. And that is enough to be able to have it set for the day and not look too dry. Okay, so now that that's done, let's get on with the brows. I'm just going to draw in some hair strokes. It's really important that you don't go overly heavy with this because it can just end up being something that stands out so heavily on your face, which you don't want. So you really want to make sure that first you don't use a shade that's overly dark. So I use medium brown, and you're not applying too much of it. So I've just done a few strokes there, can you see? And now it's obviously still quite sparse, but it's given a rough kind of look of my brow. So that's what I mean, just start slow, slowly build up if you need to. And I'm not doing the hair strokes too close together, because the reason is because otherwise then it starts to look quite blocky. And my main aim here is to be able to get just like a soft brow. Then what I do is I get a pencil, because it's not as, because pens can be quite shiny and they can end up looking like making it obvious where you don't have the hair. So I get a pencil, which is obviously going to be a matte finish, which is my Benefit Precisely My Brow pencil. And I just basically do more strokes, but only where the hair is missing. So, you know, like wherever I feel like it needs to be just a little bit more kind of depth there. So it's kind of, I would say, in all the places that I left a gap with the pen, because remember I said to you that I'm not applying the pen everywhere. So it's literally just in those places in a very soft way. It's like little strokes. Now I said to you that I want to add a little bit of powder blush just so that you guys can see. So I'm using the Dual Rosy Glow powder blush in Rosewood, and this is my 107 brush. I dip in it once. I've got a tissue here. Go onto that once. And I just go over. And this is a really good way to almost like set your blush to, just to bring it back to life. And it's such a good powder blush. Now, before we move on to the eyes, I am just going to finish off with a little bit of bronzer. So I'm using my Fenty bronzer, and I just basically stick to the perimeter of my face. So just where I contoured there. And what this does, and also take it up into, like I said, the perimeter of the face. This just helps to just give me some kind of warmth to my face. It's not so much for the sculpting, but I do feel like the areas that I put it works really well for me. And honestly, I would 100% recommend a bronzer for when you're in your 40s. I just feel like it's a really good, quick, easy way to just bring that kind of really nice, healthy look back to your skin. Got my Charlotte Tilbury lip cheat. For lips, I think you just buff it in and make it look softer. This is my MAC lip gloss in Instinct. And I just like something which is not too dry. That's why I'm putting a gloss. And then I blot it. And I'm kind of good to go. Now with the eyes, I'm just gonna curl my lashes. Because that is honestly such an important part. Do not miss that out, especially at this age. I've got my Hourglass Unlocked Mascara. Honestly, the best mascara ever. Not really much I can say about mascara, because it really is a case of finding one that works for you. But I do honestly recommend this one, it's great. That's it, the only makeup routine you need for perfect skin in your 40s. It's not about having 10 layers on, it's about smart choices, hydration and light layers. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe and the bell button so that you don't miss my future videos. There's gonna be another great video coming soon. So don't forget, products are listed in my description, so you can hit on the links and it will take you straight to them. I really hope this video has helped you today. Super excited about the next video, so stay tuned and I'll see you on the next video.